If you're like me and you're on the round a fair bit or in and out of town right now that it's the summer weather and you get tired of just looking for the right food to eat, it's always great if you can prep something ahead of time and bring it. So let me show you what I do. Welcome to my kitchen. My name is Amita Talbot and this is Mrs. Talbot's kitchen. So glad you've joined me. So I wanted to show you a recipe that I have found using a nutritionist actually. It's generally for zucchini carrot muffins. I don't have any zucchinis. I'm gonna make it an apple carrot muffin. It's gonna be fantastic. So what I need to do is I'm adding some wet ingredients to my baking bowl here. So it'll be a 1/4 cup of maple syrup. So that's what it's sweetened with. Next, we're gonna add some egg yolks to the mixture. So I've got my nice egg separator here. Rests beautifully on the side of my silicone prep bowl. So we're needing the yolk. I'm getting rid of the white here and putting them in my bowl with my wet ingredients. So the 4 eggs are separated. Time to add in some coconut oil, a 1/4 cup. If you get the unrefined, you won't get that coconut flavor or smell if you don't like that. And then a tablespoon of vanilla extract, but I'm using my absolute favorite Christmas edition from Pampered Chef, double strength. You cut it in half. So this, I usually buy 2 jars. It'll last me all year. I do pick and choose which baking I'm doing it for, but this is me, so I might as well use the best. So I'm going to whisk together my wet ingredients using my Flex Plus. So this has 4 parts to it. Oh, I'm putting it on upside down. But I'm using the blender part, the whisk part, the hand mixer. And last thing to add here is my battery. It's cordless. Love this thing. So here we go. Comes with 2 batteries. Have a second one that could be charged if I need it. I'm gonna just whisk this. Now it's time to add the dry ingredients to our wet ones. So I have a cup of almond flour, a 1/4 cup of coconut flour, which if it's too wet after we're all done, we might add another tablespoon of that. So I'm adding in 1½ teaspoons of baking powder. Just using my ½ teaspoon here. And a tablespoon of ground flaxseed is what it calls for. I love the NutriCleanse, so that's what I'm going to use. A little scoop of that for the tablespoon. And 1 more, 10 parts. These are really healthy, delicious, filling muffins, of which I'm just guessing on this one and grabbing a tablespoon. Just a regular spoon. Okay, and sea salt. 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt. Grab that. I've got my bigger one out, so I'm just going to put a little bit in this one. And there we go. So mixing that together now with these type of ingredients, you're not wanting to use a mixer, you're just wanting to fold them in and have that ready for the next part. So grabbing the other part of my Flex, I've already used the handheld mixer, which I'm going to need again. Now I'm using the food processor. So getting my apple ready, just going to core it. This is the easiest way to run this one through. You don't even have to take the skin off, which is nice. Just wash it up and then quarter it. And you want to make sure your quarters are going to fit through here. So we have that ready. I've got the blade in ready. And how cool is this? It just fits on top. Now normally I don't store it with the battery, but I had the battery on. Usually we say it's the last one to the party. So I've got to get that one back in here. Okay, so here we go with the apple in. Make sure it's turned on.
Yep.
Okay, here we go. I'm going to add my pieces of 1 carrot to the mix. Oh, turned it off on myself. Okay, apple and carrot are grated, and now we're gonna add it back in with our other ingredients. And you're gonna mix this up. Now, if it's a bit too wet, if you find it a bit too wet from these ingredients, we add 1 more tablespoon of coconut oil or coconut flour, and you can add a bit of warm water depending on what you think the consistency is. I'm liking the consistency, so I think we might be okay for this. Now, the only other thing I like to add as a little bit of a treat is some chocolate chips. Now, what I do think I am going to do though is I am going to add 1 little bit of my, not a ton. Coconut flour is it dries it, so you're always careful when you use it, and get that in mixed nicely. Last thing to do is my addition of some chocolate chips, and we are all ready to put it in our loaf pan, our stoneware loaf pan. So the last thing we're going to do before we add it to our loaf pan is we're going to use the egg whites we separated. So I'm back to the hand mixer. Also comes as an immersion blender. I have the other part back there, so that's why it's called the Flex Plus. There's 3 parts. So I'm going to and you're going to get this all whisked together until you get the little white peaks that form. So egg whites are ready in my silicone prep bowl, which I love because it pours so nice. You can also use this in the microwave to melt things like butter and chocolate when you're baking. I use it for all sorts of things, to store my berries. You can make yogurt or put your yogurt in there if you're just having extra yogurt around and you want to just take it with you. It's a great way to do it as well. So you're just going to mix these in. It just folds in, and then it is ready for the loaf pan. Now you can make these as muffins. I was going to say cupcakes, but you can pretend they're cupcakes, which is what I did the other week, was made them as a muffin. But to save me time on dishes, I'm going to do it in my loaf pan. Beautiful, and it bakes things to perfection. You could also, if you wasn't going to use the whole thing at once, you could cut it up in half and then put half in the freezer. Just give it a little spritz with my spritzer, and we're ready to go. Put that in. This one will take, now you're going to give it time even as muffins, it took a little bit of time. So as a loaf, you're going to want to give it the time to make sure it has cooked all the way through, because it is a more moist batter, because we're using the apples and the carrots, which would make it a little bit more moist, as well as all the eggs and the egg whites. I'm just going to flatten it out, and it is ready to go into the oven. What I'm going to do is set my timer for 50 minutes, sorry, and I'm going to check it, and then I'll add up. From there, I'll just add on time if I need to do it, but a good base would be 50 minutes with something like this, ready to go in. So here it is out of the oven. It went in for 50 minutes at 350. Used my cake tester and releaser. Love this little tool just to make sure that it was all done. I like to let it sit in, as you can tell, it's a bit cool, but I like to let it sit for a bit just to make sure it all settles and it continues to just kind of, if there's any moisture at all in the middle, it kind of just finishes cooking it. But there you go, a beautiful loaf that you can cut up and take with you when you need to go. Have a great day.